Alright, so at long last, I think I promised this a couple of months ago, but Stefan Rayu asked about, asked about atheist stereotypes and how we, or I'm going to speak for myself at least, do not fit them. So yeah, stereotype number one, atheists don't have morals, and or, you know, if we were all atheists there would be no moral standards, etc. That idea is wrong because the morals are not dependent. First, we don't get our morals from Scripture. Most of us, we read the Scriptures and we decide independently which parts we like and which we don't. You know, there's lots of nasty stuff in the Bible, and most of us can read it and go, no, that can't be relevant or whatever, you know. So given that we don't, that moral standard has to come from somewhere else, and I personally subscribe to the evolutionary definition, which would basically state that for any animals or any species that lives in a social setting, those kind of, what we would call bad behaviors are going to be selected against on the whole, because they're going to be detrimental. Of course, it still happens from time to time because you still have selfish individuals, and we are chaotic beings, and by that I mean the mathematical definition of chaos, which I'll post another link. Alright, moving right along, atheists reject God, and like a lot of people, or a lot of theists, like, when I'm talking to people, they really seem to have the idea that we believe that God is there, but we are rebellious against him or angry at him. It's like we're pointing the middle finger up at him. And, like, even though we do that in fun from time to time, maybe literally, that's not the way it works. We no more reject God than a Christian rejects, fuck, I can't remember the name. Oh yeah. Okay. We no more reject God than a Christian would reject Sauron from Lord of the Rings. Like, I hate God as much as your average Christian hates a fictional being. That's the thing. We don't reject it. We don't think it's there. It's relevant only in as much as the people around me take it seriously. So yeah, I don't reject God. I don't think he's there. That's the difference. Okay, so number three, atheists worship Charles Darwin, Richard Dawkins. There's a big difference there. Speaking for myself, like I don't hesitate to quote somebody, but when I do, it's really more about giving credit. I won't quote them unless I value the idea itself. Just because Richard Dawkins or Charles Darwin stumbled upon some ideas that I can agree with, or that I can see map onto reality in a realistic kind of way, worship is not the right word at all. Strongly agree with, perhaps, but yeah. Number four, this doesn't apply to all atheists, but you hear the talk about fundamentalist and extremist atheists and all that kind of stuff. I know Amazing Atheist at least has talked about this before, but it's very interesting that to be an atheist extremist, I'm sitting here in front of my webcam in my apartment, drinking rum and coke, not fucking with anybody, and I'm an atheist extremist. Whereas maybe a Muslim extremist is someone that straps a bomb on their chest, or a Christian extremist, goes and kills an abortion doctor. Someone give me an someone give me an example of atheist extremism, and don't talk about Stalin or Pol Pot or Hitler. Okay, oh man, Hitler was a theist. So, number 5, atheism requires faith. Once again, speaking only for myself, when I call myself an atheist, I'm not saying that the only things that are are the things that we can measure or put under a microscope, or that kind of thing. It's just that if you take any individual theistic belief or doctrine, there is no reason for that belief in and of itself to hold to reality. And a lot of people pull the card out of, oh, well, so many people believe in God. They kind of, you can generalize like that, but really when you look at each individual case, it all boils down to delusion. That's the way I see it. And so it's not that I believe that there's nothing else. It's just that this conception of a personal God that cares about our feelings and takes an interest in human affairs and has an active role in reality, I don't discount the notion of I hate labels, but the possibility of a higher power. But I honestly believe that if such a thing exists, it would have to be only in the deist sense of the word, which from a practical standpoint, I don't see a difference between deism and atheism, really, as far as looking at the world around us. The deist God sets the world in place and doesn't intervene anymore, and so you've got laws and rules and causality, etc., etc., etc. And an atheist kind of, I would say believes in those things, but doesn't necessarily put a personality behind the beginning of it, or the spark, or whatever. Yeah, I'm going to stop there. Number 6. Okay, so not necessarily a misconception about atheists, but I want to tie this into the whole category here because I think it's kind of relevant. A lot of theists tie together the ideas or belief in, whatever, of the Big Bang, which is a scientific explanation for the expansion of the universe, pointing towards the origins of the universe, although what happens there is very hard to answer. So the Big Bang is one thing. A separate question, although theists tend to lump these together, is the question of abiogenesis, and of course they're related, but I would say they're just as related as understanding electricity and understanding the force of gravity. Like if you really get down to it, of course there's some relation there, but they're separate questions. So yet you have Big Bang, which is the origin of the universe, abiogenesis, which is the origin of life. And to give my opinion in a nutshell on that, even what we see as the simplest form of life possible, the simplest bacteria, philhellenes talked about this, but even if we broke it down to the most basic we can get in the environment that we have, that's going to be something that's several thousand, if not several million generations down the line. The origin of life, most likely, all you need is a self-replicating molecule. A molecule. It doesn't need to be a cell. It doesn't need to be complex necessarily. It just needs to have the capability to make copies of itself with the environment. All you need to start evolution is the inherited characteristics, random variations, and non-random survival. Those 3 ingredients are what give you evolution. Okay, so and evolution, that's the third concept. We can map and understand and model how evolution works, and evolution is a fact. It's just a property of the universe and the physical laws. It's the non-random survival of randomly varying individuals. That phenomenon needs abiogenesis to start, but abiogenesis is a separate question. Once it started, there are many different ways you could get there. Like I said earlier, all you need is a self-replicating molecule, and given enough time, enough resources, etc., that can give rise to more complexity over time through the mechanism of natural selection, which is what drives evolution. So that brings me through all 6, And yeah, if you still made it to the video, anyone, thanks. I'm still getting used to this quick capture thing. I normally edit my stuff really thoroughly, but that requires a whole lot of processes. And this quick capture thing's really cool, but yeah, that means I got to work on my